Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to week 3 of our Central Christian College classes for financial accounting. I appreciate you coming in and seeing me if you're watching this recording. We are in week 3, that is for chapters 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to flip over here. With our week 3, we are talking about, first of all, inventory. I'm going to share my screen too. Okay, I am recording. So we are in week 3. Let's go to our Explore section. About merchandising, our inventory, cash and receivables, and inventory systems. So as always, in your Explore section, you have your overview, our objectives this week. You can read through those, but identifying management issues and how that affects income statements, internal controls, management decisions, inventory, and then how do you get your customers to pay, giving them credit, etc. All right, chapter 5, operating cycle and merchandising inventory operations. You will read about perpetual and periodic inventory systems in chapter 5. You will talk about internal controls, risks such as theft, not documenting your inventories correctly, giving sales discounts to customers, doing internal audits with those internal controls. And then something else I want you to be familiar with when you are reading through is the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which is providing full public documentation to of financial records to the public, to shareholders, and so forth. In chapter 6, you're going to be looking at inventories. It goes further into depth with perpetual and periodic inventory systems. Talks about inventory costs and overhead, how to manage these, and also the effects on financial statements with your inventory, because when you're going through purchasing, you have 500 books on hand. Well, with your balance sheet, 40 days into your recording project or your recording of your accounting, you're not going to have 500 books anymore. You need to manage that, those inventory costs, and show that accurately on your financial statements so you're not overstating or understating your profit margins. Then in chapter 7, you're going to talk about customers. How do you get your money from your customers? Customer payments, how do you give them credit? Maybe there are ways that you can give them discounts, such as the net 30, which means you want all of the payments in 30 days. Maybe if they pay their balance in 10 days, you'll give them a 2% discount. That's called 10 net, 2 net 10. Then we have uncollectibles. How do you write off those accounts that you're just never able to get your money from? And then it also discusses a little bit on how you can do claims on those uncollectibles as well. There are several external readings and links in this section to videos that will discuss things, and our presentations for each chapter is here as well. And then additional resources. Just like always, you have there is a PowerPoint and study guide. Your study guide is going to have a lot of vocabulary words in that section for you to look at. If you need something, print this off, put it in the section of your book. That way, if you need to look back, especially for your tests, it will be a quick guide to see what you, instead of having to search things in your book. Also, with your resources, I'm going to go back to, uh-oh, did I lose them? I hope I'm still recording. Looks like I am. Also in your books, all of your chapters have these sections called Stop and Apply. I highly, highly, highly recommend doing those. It's about every section of your chapter. And it's just a nice review to apply what you have tried to read through there. Sometimes just reading it, your mind aimlessly kind of wanders. It's like 10 minutes into it or 2 pages through. You're like, what did I just read? Especially when it comes with all these acronyms and numbers, and I know it can get confusing. So work on those stop and applies. If you've purchased your book, write it right there in the book. That way when you're taking your test and flipping through, that will be a good visual for you to remember what it was talking about. Also, at the end of each chapter, there is a review problem. Okay, these review problems, work those out. See if you can figure those out. And guess what? If you can't, following page, there's the answers. So you have a how-to right in your textbook for each application that is discussed in your textbook. So look at those as well. And then there's short exercises. If the stop and apply don't make sense to you, there's more short questions, real quick ones, about each different section of your textbook. Great resources right there. And accounting is not something that you write a report a lot about. It's a lot of application. And that application is what gives you the experience that you need. So this is kind of a different class than maybe you're more familiar with, especially if you've been taking ethics and psychologies and communications, that type of courses. I want to share my screen again. And we're going to go over the assignments. I'm not going to keep you here very much longer. All right, back to my course outline. Highlighted. Okay, discussion 1. This is about internal controls. You're going to look at these different scenarios, and you're going to label them, whether it was a human error that occurred, collusion among employees, changed conditions, or cost benefit considerations. And you will find internal controls in chapter 5. More appropriately on page 263, there's a lot of different variables that come into play for internal controls. But I don't want, okay, number 1 is A, human error. Number 2 is C, change conditions. That's not what I want here. You need to explain. You need to give me a reason. Why was that human error? What happened here that caused the human error? What human error did occur? Okay, so you need to give me more context on each of these scenarios here. Okay, then we have discussion 2. And what this is about perpetual inventory systems, chapter page 254 in your book. I think, was that chapter 6 or chapter 5 still? I think that's chapter 6. Nope. Still in chapter 5, 254 gives you what perpetual inventory is. 254. Okay, great big section. Great big section on page 254 and further pages about perpetual inventory systems. It gives you examples. It gives you the journal entries. It gives you the summary. It also gives you a stop and apply about perpetual inventory. But with this, you're going to look at merchandise inventory accounts and what would cause that to have the wrong balance. Guess what, guys? Page 256. In the perpetual inventory system section, it talks about sales of merchandise. Okay? So look at page 254 through 257-ish, it looks like. Yep, 257. Okay, for your discussion. And again, you have to elaborate. It cannot just be a yes, no kind of answer. And then lastly, we have your apply. And again, we have 2 different scenarios for this, whether you are in leadership or in the healthcare major. With both of them, though, it is about operating costs. I'm sorry, not operating costs, operating cycles and cash flow. You have these scenarios of these companies, and they're talking about inventory. They are selling to their customers, and they want to know what are the operating cycles and financing period for this company. What works out? How long is their operating cycle and financing period? And then I want 3 ways in which the company can improve its cash flow management. Chapter 7 is all over cash flows, customer receipts, cash cycles, and customer receivables. Okay, so chapter 7 will be your resource for your apply section. And again, just a different scenario for your healthcare students. And then the questions are pretty much the same. It needs to be a brief 1 to 2 page paper. Please put your name and heading up at the top. Don't waste a lot of room. Put it in the header or something, because I get several of them open because I want to compare them once in a while. Or, what did that one student say? I'm going to go back and reflect on that. So please put your names in them so I have a visual for that as well. Okay, so my main takeaway from this is to work through those review problems. Work through those stop and applies in your textbook. Those are important, very important. Those are what will make or break you in this class, because you need to have those those hands-on, that application after you read through this. Okay, you are going to have a keyword of GAAP. And in that email that you send me, what does GAAP stand for? Interesting. Okay, everybody have a great week. And I appreciate if you are listening to the recordings. I'm sorry some of them have been a little long, but I'm trying to make those work for you. Have a great day and take care. Let me know if you have any questions.